Stargate is a massive new AI infrastructure project that brings together President Donald Trump, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, Oracle's Larry Ellison, and OpenAI's Sam Altman. They're committing $500 billion over 4 years to build data centers, supercomputers, and the core tech needed to push AI to its next frontier. Here's how it all unfolds, and why it could reshape the industry. So, yesterday, January 21st, 2025, President Trump held a press briefing at the White House joined by Son, Ellison, and Altman to announce a massive private sector investment aimed at building the largest AI infrastructure project in history by far. Called Stargate, it kicks off with an initial $100 billion with plans to grow to $500 billion over the next 4 years.
This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. This is, to me, a very big thing. $500 billion Stargate project, I think, is going to be something that's very special. It'll lead to something that could be the biggest of all.
President Trump just moments ago here at the White House announcing this new project for infrastructure inside the U.S. for artificial intelligence, and 3 men are teaming up with the president in this public-private partnership, and that is Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, Larry Ellison, Oracle founder, chairman of the board and chief technology officer, and Masayoshi Son, SoftBank chairman and CEO. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. It's exciting.
This is your World War III update. Holy SHTF, guys. They're doing it. They're making a run for it. I can't believe it, but I can. Donald Trump is issuing an emergency declaration in order to facilitate the development of SKYNET. That's what's going on. Okay, $500 billion, dwarfing the amount of money that was invested in the Apollo project, the Manhattan Project, and any possible American endeavor that you can imagine, dwarfing that multifold. And they're going to be trying to cure cancer with it, right? For all those people that they shook down with that shit meme coin, because suddenly they're virtuous and they're benevolent. They're going to cure everybody's cancer and heart disease, permanent erections on command for everybody. That's what we're promised by all these servile technocrats lined up to genuflect in one of the most obsequious manners that I think I've ever seen at a presidential inauguration. Period, point, technocratic blank. We are entering a very dark age. And not surprisingly, the sun has been blotted out in California once again, as fires rage 4 months ahead of schedule, okay? California burns 4 months ahead of schedule, while Florida finds itself in winter wonderland. You really can't make this up. These events would have been inexplicable 10 years ago, but now they're just the norm. Imagine a blizzard warning on the Gulf Coast, the Gulf of America coast. On day 1, we brought our weather system to the Gulf of America. Can you believe it? Absolutely unbelievable. I warned you last week the weather is going to continue to get crazier and crazy. I mean, this is in Florida. You got palm trees. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Everybody's saying, oh, see, global warming isn't real. No, you know what it is? It's very simple. The jet stream is breaking down. The jet stream slows down, so the polar vortex that usually gets trapped in the North Pole tends to then protrude down deeper towards the equator. The reason why the jet stream is weakening is because the temperature differential between the equator and the poles is reducing. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the equators, and thus that heat differential breaks down. And when you have a lower heat differential, the wind is slower and the jet stream breaks down, so it gets wavier. So all of that cold air, which is typically trapped up in the Arctic, protrudes down deeper. That's why you have the Texas power outage and you have this. But you know, let's just put the blinders on. Let's just pretend this is normal, all right? Pretend it's all normal and World War III is never going to come. The economy's never going to crash, and they're not trying to build out SKYNET as haphazardly as they possibly can because they're worried about the Chinese getting there first. That's what's going on. Trump would not issue emergency declarations on day one if this wasn't incredibly serious. $500 billion, okay? The Manhattan Project was $28 billion in today's dollars. The Apollo missions, $182 billion in today's dollars. They're going to drop $500 billion. And when I first heard about this, all these companies coming together because they need the compute power. You wouldn't ever expect, Microsoft to be partnering with Oracle and OpenAI and all these companies that in many ways compete with one another unless this was truly a matter of national security. Now, what does that mean, that this is a matter of national security? Why is it that they're getting ready to build out massive data centers? Is it to cure cancer for all the people they shook down with the Trump coin and the Melania coin? Do you really think that they're doing this to solve world hunger? I mean, I got some, I was going to say I got some beachfront property up here in Saskatchewan, but soon I might, the way things are going. Guys, they're building something big. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about artificial general intelligence. I've been warning about this for years. Now, there is a bit of a paradox. Before I get into the minutiae and the details and report the news, I just want to give you something to think about. If you were a king and you had privilege and you enjoyed the spoils of living in a hierarchical society where you were the top of the pyramid, would you build a god who would create abundance, who would essentially get rid of the need for that hierarchy and that power disparity that you enjoy, that wealth disparity that you enjoy? Would a king create a god? Is the question. And I've always thought that one of the things that the elites don't want to happen is for these AIs, these artificial super intelligence is what they're looking at now. I mean, they're talking about AGI like it's a done deal in the next 18 months. That's what what's the company? I can't remember the company's name. Anthropic, I believe, the CEO of Anthropic. That's what he said. 18 months, okay? We got 18 months before they start building these artificial super AIs. People act as though that's normal. 5 years ago, it was theoretical, it was hypothetical. Now they're saying all we need is more and more compute. But the question that the elites are going to be faced with is if we build AGI and it becomes omnipotent and it's able to solve problems at breakneck speeds and then solve problems that we didn't even know were problems at a geometric rate right around 2029. I think there was a significant date in the movie Terminator there, wasn't there? If you go back and watch it, 2029 is when Kurzweil predicts that all this is going to happen, but now they're saying it's ahead of schedule. Anyways, what are they going to be doing? For a person who doesn't know anything about what's going on here, basically what they need is data. You know how they always say data is the new oil? Well, why do they always say that? Is it just so that they can sell you a brand new pair of shoes? Somewhat. Data is the new oil because data is what they train their AIs on. This is why Elon Musk bought X, because he wants to train his artificial intelligence Grok, which is every microsecond of every day amalgamating all of the data that is put onto Twitter, and it is leveraging that to come up with solutions to problems, okay? So it's just like the Teslas. It's a great example. Tesla has a fleet of, I don't know how many millions of cars now. All those cars are out there collecting data from the world. They're like sensors, bringing information back to the mothership, making the mothership stronger and stronger. The brain is growing and growing. So the idea is that the bigger the brain, the more capable it is going to be in terms of solving problems and absolutely finding the absolute best pair of shoes that you want. But advertising is just a small portion of this. A lot of this is stuff that I don't even think they know yet. They just want the power because they believe, well, let me just list off some of the potential uses, okay? It's going to materialize first as some innocuous personal assistant that you talk to. We already kind of have that with the ChatGPT o1, I believe. You can talk to it, sounds like a real person. You can have fluent conversations with it. I can yell at it across the room in broken English and it'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's actually quite freaky, okay? You can have conversations with this thing instead of with yourself. At least it's better than having conversation with yourself, sort of. I guess we'll get into that. But so that's one potential use. That's one of the most harmless use cases. And of course, it's about collecting your data on you, right? So Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle with a net worth of $200 billion, who seems to be really gung-ho about something I call, and I've coined this term long before I ever heard anybody else say it, life streaming, okay? So he wants everybody to have cameras on their person recording 24/7, putting data into this mother brain that is going to be able to use all that data to make predictions about anything that's going to happen next. And you know what? When I just thought about this, maybe they just want to be able to predict what the stock market's going to do. Because if you can control all the variables, you can make a virtual Earth, which is actually a project that Google is working on, making a virtual copy of everything on Earth. And they're saying, well, it's to map weather patterns and, geological events, predictive power, and that sort of thing. But no, it's to control people, okay? And this is all for warfare. Understand, they're spending $500 billion on this. Just out of the blue, all these companies coming together behind the president in an emergent, expedient fashion. Why do you think they're doing that? Because this is a weapon of war. This is the last invention of mankind, that man will invent himself. AI is the last invention. I'll give Elon his credit when I say he did say that we are the bootloaders for AI. Now, whether we're going to be able to maintain control of it is another story. Cybersecurity is another potential use. Autonomous systems, robotics, cars, everything automated, okay? The ability to, cryptography, if you pair AI with supercomputers, which of course AI is going to be able to inform us as to how to build faster supercomputers. That's when you have the takeoff and the singularity, and it's game over from that point forward for us, mortals. The sky is the limit with the type of weapons that you can create. The reason why Vladimir Putin said that AI, whoever invents it first, will rule the world is because if you get a smart enough AI, that AI is going to find a solution to take out the enemy's nuclear weapons. It'll think of something, something that we probably have never thought about before. It'll fill in all of the knowledge gaps. And it might be cyber related. Maybe it'll find a way to use the electromagnetic spectrum somehow to do it. It will invent some nanobots or, it'll find a solution to do it. And that's why there's this mad race. The problem is that they don't know if they're going to be able to control it by the time we get there.